The fact that I could generate such numbers was just like mind blowing to me. But then I also thought, well, if I could hit this, like what else can I do? Where can I go?
Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the EntreMD podcast. And boy, are you in for a treat, because I have my very good friend here, Dr. Cheruba Prabakar. She is a total boss, and she's a boss, and she's so generous because she's coming to share her story. And I'm excited to get to hear her story because I want you to see what is possible for physicians. When I talk about private practice not being dead, I want you to see it playing out. And I want you to walk away from this episode so on fire to take the next milestones you've been thinking about in your business and go crush them. Okay, that's the whole reason she's here. So Dr. Prabakar, thank you so much for coming back on the EntreMD podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Una. I am so excited and honored to be here, and I can't wait to share my story.
So I'm going to give you a moment to introduce yourself, and so people will see part of the reason why I'm so excited you're here.
I'm Dr. Cheruba Prabakar, and I am a board-certified OBGYN and a fellowship-trained minimally invasive surgeon. I am from the East Coast and trained in New York, and then married a tech guy and ended up on the West Coast in San Francisco Bay Area. And I started out like all good physicians do with an employed practice. It was great. I had got a lot of experience, learned how to become a good doctor, become a good surgeon, and also started growing my family at the same time. I have 3 young kids. And after about 7 or 8 years, I started to feel like there's got to be more to practicing medicine. My dream always, when I graduated medical school, was to start my own practice. But where I found myself at that time in the West Coast, in the Bay Area, very tech-centered, there just weren't a lot of private practices. And so I had sort of erased that dream from my mind, saying, well, it's good enough that I just have a job. It's, I should just be grateful, and sort of just put that in the back burner because I saw no examples around me. It was all corporate medicine, big employed practices. That whole concept of a solo practitioner or 3 or 4 people working together that I grew up seeing in the East Coast just didn't exist out here. And that's actually when I joined the EntreMD Business School, not because I had a plan or not because I knew what was happening next, but because I knew there had to be a different way to practice medicine. And I started really thinking at that time and gaining a lot of momentum and starting to dare my fears and starting to become more bold. And lo and behold, a year later, I opened up my own boutique gynecology practice and GYN and surgery practice. And so it was a year of rapid growth, rapid transformation in my mindset and my skills, all of those things that helped me and enabled me to finally open my doors in October 2022.
You talked about something that is true for so many physicians. You thought there's got to be more. And if you're listening to this or watching this and you're thinking there's got to be more, there is more, right? You talked about my dream had always been, right? But I was like, maybe this is good enough. And so as physicians, a lot of times, like we have these dreams of what we think medicine could look like, how we could practice, things we could do. And many times we settle for good enough, which is not necessarily a problem because you're about to hear the rest of her story, but she did start her practice and it is a boutique cash-based practice in the Bay Area and all of that. Like that's her dream of dreams, but she could have still been good enough. But here she is, right? Like when I think about it, it's so mind-boggling. And then you said you joined the EntreMD Business School. You didn't know what, you didn't know how. Again, which is something that stops a lot of people, whether it's starting a practice or going to the next level in the practice or in the business, whichever kind of business it is. It's like, I don't know what or how, so I'm just going to stay. Where you're like, no, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to evolve. I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to do all of this stuff, even before I know what and how, because something's got to give. So much goodness. Okay. Now, I want us to start from the end, and then we're going to go back to the beginning. So I know that, starting a business or growing a business or scaling a business can be challenging, but I am a believer that it's so worth it. Okay. So you have come to a place where you can look back and say, okay, I've been an entrepreneur for X number of years. This is what is made possible for me. So what does life look like now that you've started this business, the business is thriving, all of those things? What for you makes it worth it?
That is why I did all of this, right? Because entrepreneurship, just reflecting on something you said, medicine in general is a very straight and narrow path, more or less. Like you do this, and then you got to do this, and then you got to take this class, and then you got to, it's very linear. And we have been trained to think that way. And so to think that, yes, we can actually step outside and create something for myself is a huge step. But I want everyone who's hearing this to know that it is absolutely possible. And so when I think about, well, what has made it worth it? I mean, for one, I start my day at 9 and I end by 4. If my kids have a day that I need to be there early because they have some party or whatever thing at school, I can make it. If they have something in the middle of the day, which is always my annoyance with schools, how they have tea party at between 11:30 and 12, which sometimes is so impractical. But if I'm not in the operating room, I can make that. I can make their performances. So just the flexibility, I would say, is something I have never been able to experience when I was an employed physician. And in fact, the straw that broke the camel's back when I was an employed physician was when I tried to get a little more flexibility, and the answer was no. And so flexibility is something that has been so important for me, not just for my kids, but for myself. If I need a doctor's appointment, if I'm not feeling well, maybe I take a few video visits from home. Like it's just, I can make my schedule, and that has been amazing. Number 2, I would say it's who I've become. Like when I look at myself, I'm like, who is this person? Who is she? Because I never thought that such self-evolution was really possible. I was like, okay, great. I got my MD and I'm became a resident, then I became a fellow. Fabulous. Like check, like I've hung up all my diplomas in my wall and I'm all done. Right. But really, this, after starting my own practice, is where my true personal growth began. And to me, that is super exciting. It's something that no one can ever take away from me. The way I have honed my skills, the way I think now, has been amazing. So I think the personal side and the flexibility to enjoy my life and my family has been really, really worth it.
My personal thought is, the money we make in entrepreneurship is amazing. The lives we're able to change, that is amazing. The time freedom is amazing. But the person you become, because you then become this person and you're like, wait, what else could I become? You know what I mean? And it just opens up this door where you really feel like Play-Doh, like you're so moldable and you could become exactly who you need to be. And all those things you suppressed all these years, like, I'm not the kind of person who can do this or do that. The lid is off. And you're like, of course I can. I became this person. Of course I can.
Yes, exactly. And what else can I be next? So I love asking that question and realizing that there is no box, which sometimes you can feel like that when you're a doctor and you're just in a cogwheel, right? But when you come out on your own and you have to do things, I mean, you have to develop all these skills. At least I had to do from scratch. I mean, nobody in my family really owns or owned a business. Nobody was really an entrepreneur. So it's not like I could even say, oh, well, I just got these skills from my parents. Like I had to kind of figure all of it myself. But I'm like, well, what else can I do? So yes, that's exciting.
What are some of the skills or changes you had to go through in order to make where you are possible?
Well, I had to be a lot more bold in terms of really stepping outside the box. And I've overall a confident and bold person, I think, at baseline, but betting on myself was something I had to do over and over again. There were days in the beginning where there was nobody on my schedule. And I was like, what did I just do? Right. But it was okay. I still was willing to persevere and keep going. I mean, we've done that throughout our medical training. So this was not a new skill, but learning to bet on myself when there was really no cash in flux and figuring out how to make it all work. Being resourceful was another one. I didn't take out a loan, but I figured out, okay, if I can do these kinds of locum shifts, if I can get this much money, like I could actually bootstrap my own practice, which I know is a big kind of limiting belief for so many doctors. Like, oh, where am I going to get the money from? So just to let you guys know, like I didn't take out a loan. So being resourceful was one. Betting on myself, really learning about finances was another huge one. I mean, now I own a business. I had to look up a P&L. I didn't even know what a P&L meant. It's a skill that I'm still working on, but it was another huge skill that I had to develop.
Were you comfortable talking about money? Because your practice is a cash pay practice. And so you're telling people, I've heard of this insurance thing, but yes, this is how much you'll be paying for this service. So was there drama around that? How did you have to evolve, or
Oh,
you were like always cool with that?
oh, no. I mean, yeah, I forgot to mention that not only did I start my own practice, I decided to go cash pay as a surgeon, which, everyone was like, you're crazy. If I'm going to go all in, I just decided to, do it big. But yes, there was a lot of money drama. I would get feedback even from friends and colleagues like, what do you mean? Like, you don't take insurance? Like, what do you mean you're going to charge $500 or whatever? But I just decided to do it anyway, and let's see what's possible. I knew I could always get a job, if this didn't work out, but let's push the boundaries. Let's see what else we could do. And so, yeah, that was a huge thing. And I just started with what I thought was reasonable. And since then, I've definitely increased my prices. I've increased my offerings. I found more creative things, ways to program the various things that I offer to patients around surgery or even menopause care. So yeah, there's been a lot of evolution, but that beginning was definitely scary. And there are still scary moments when I'm like, oh, maybe I should raise the price on this. Work in progress.
Oh, we never arrive?
Oh, no. No, that's one thing we don't do in entrepreneurship.
We never arrive.
We never
That's
arrive.
now, because you've been so generous to come share your story. I really want people to get a feel for true entrepreneurship, right? Because sometimes they see the highlight reel, which some of those reels annoy me to the high heavens, where it's like, oh, we're just going to sip margaritas on the beach and we're going to work for 2 hours a day. Like I've literally had people tell me, oh, I want to start this business. I want to launch a course because I want to have passive income. I'm like, yeah, see, those two things, they don't go together. So I want us to talk about some of the challenges like that you had to go through as you were getting your business off the floor, or as on your journey to your first million, whichever one you can pick. Just walk people through that, because one of the things we do a lot in the EntreMD Business School is we normalize challenges. Because otherwise people are thrown off by it. Like, why is this happening in my business? Because it's a business. That's just the way it works. So you're winning and you had challenges. Like these two things can go together. So kind of paint a picture, story here or there, like, some of the challenges you had to overcome, because somebody's probably in that and they think something's wrong with them or something's wrong with their business. And no, it's just, the 2 years going to have temper tantrums.
Yeah. I mean, where do we start with the challenges?
I don't know. We might have to have a supplemental podcast episode for that one.
Yeah, let's title the challenges of entrepreneurship, right? There's so many, but I think the biggest thing is not letting it stand in your way. So for example, when I started, I didn't have a medical assistant, and many people could have been like, oh, well, I don't even know how to do all that. But I answered my own phones. I had a calendar where I put down appointments. I figured out how to charge people myself. Like it was really messy. It was really, really messy. I had no idea what I was doing, but every day I would learn something else and I would just keep going. And eventually, yes, I got a medical assistant. Eventually, I was not answering the phones. I had an EMR, like a proper system. Those all came, but the beginning was really hard, and got some ideas from those in the EntreMD Business School. But it was sort of like, we were all kind of starting out at that point. It was just learning how to do things messy. And then came the challenge of selling myself. I was in a practice here for 7 years, like I mentioned. So I figured, well, a lot of people will come. Well, guess what? They didn't come, because now I'm in a different model. I don't accept insurance. And so I had to really find new patients from scratch. And that I was not expecting. So my first year was very difficult in terms of, as I mentioned, I'd have one patient on the schedule, maybe two. And I really started doubting myself, but I had to do all the things, go knock on doors, hand out my card, drop off cookies, have events. And so it was a lot of action to get the bus rolling. But by the end of year one, I started to fill my schedule a little bit more. Year two became better. Year three became more stable. That was a huge challenge. And now I have hired another physician, and now kind of learning how to fill her schedule and get going with that has also been a little bit challenging. But just taking steps, and really taking the action. This is something we talk about in the business school, is just taking massive action and not being motivated by your results, but just being motivated, period. Like, you just have to do the things, right? There's no shortcuts to that. And the results will come. It may come next month. It may come a year later. It may come 2 years later. We don't know. But we are just continuing to do the things. So yeah, so that was a challenge. And then I had to find new space. That was a challenge. Staffing always, poses an issue with people coming and going and trying to find the right fit, and not letting these things rattle you, but moving on despite. And so that's something I've had to do over and over again. And now I'm in year 4. I'm kind of getting comfortable doing that.
I've had the privilege of watching your journey. And even when you're like, I'm not sure, this is looking kind of tough, you never stopped. Like, you kept going, right? And I remember you saying, like, all the times I thought it wasn't working, now that I look back, it was all working. Like, the ROI was all coming, and all of that. So what do you do to stay in action when the results are discouraging? Right? So maybe you're expecting, I'll have 10 patients by now, and you have 4, whatever that is. What do you do to keep moving?
So I kind of come up with a plan of the different actions that I'm going to do. And in my mind, I just say, regardless, here's when I'm going to do it, and here's what I'm going to do. And I don't look at the results. For example, I remember clearly, I think it was October of when I started, and it was like starting to it was dark in the morning, and there was this like run in the city that my practice is at. And it was like 6:30. You had to come and set up a table. I mean, it was dark. My husband was sleeping. My kids are sleeping. They were like, good luck, have fun tomorrow morning. So I had to like load all this stuff in my car, this like paper sign that I made, and this table and tablecloth and these flowers and these cards. And I was cold. I was wearing my ski jacket. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, is this what it takes? And I thought, like, it shouldn't take all this. But you know what? Like, that was an opportunity for me to get in front of people who had no idea who I was. And it was a 3-hour event. It was cold. It was dark, whatever. But it's something I had to do. And I had it on my calendar that was what I was going to do. And I stayed for the whole event. I gave out my cards and talked to people. I don't know that I got anybody from that event that year. But, last year, this is 2.5 years later, I had a patient who told me, oh, remember that res run in October? Like, that's where I saw you. And so it was working. I mean, the result came 2.5 years later, but it came. And so sometimes seeing those glimpses of work that I did, a while ago helps me keep going. But I think that's probably the toughest lesson to learn. Like, sometimes you think, well, I'm already a doctor. Like, I already done all this. Like, do I really need to bust it now? And, the answer is yes. That's part of being an entrepreneur. Like you said, it's not all about sipping margaritas at the beach. There's a lot of hard work that goes in. And when you've decided ahead of time that that's what you're going to do, like, you just show up and do it.
And the one person who came from that's as far as we know. And we don't know who else she introduces to your practice. We don't know the ripple effect of all these things. But what we do know is the work works. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I love your approach to it, because what you did is you disconnected your actions today from the results today. It's like, I'm working today for where I'm trying to go, and whatever the results are doing today, that's great. But I'm moving. That way, you're always accountable to something out there as opposed to being discouraged by what is not happening. You can feel the discouragement and keep moving, right? But it's like not letting
Yes.
the discouragement stop you.
Yes, yes. And with filling my schedule, I mean, it's kind of a compounding effect because some patients will say, I don't really know where I found you, but I saw your name here, then I went to this event and I saw you there, and then I turned around here and I saw your name again, and I figured, well, this must be the place to go, right? So it wasn't necessarily from one event, but the fact that I was everywhere is what many patients told me. And it does take all that to make it work. Yeah.
It does take all that. And thank you for saying that, because I find some people, sometimes they're confused that they have to work hard. And for me, where it came from for me was when you're going through pre-med, medical school, residency, all of that is like I'm paying my dues. And when I'm done with all this, I'm done. And so it's kind of like, wait, I was done? Like I'm not done anymore? You know what I mean? And entrepreneurship is a completely different game. And so you still need that beginner energy. You can't, like your 300 years of experience as a physician has nothing to do with entrepreneurship. And so if you can't approach it with a growth mindset, a beginner's mindset, willing to put in the work, it does make the journey a lot tougher.
And it's helpful to do it in community, which has been really fun because then you also see, okay, this person was just a year ahead of me and look, like it is working out. So that's helpful too, because entrepreneurship can also be very isolating. When I first started the practice, like there were definitely people who were looking at me like, I don't know what you think you're doing, but it's okay. You just keep moving forward with people around you who do believe in you.
So you started a practice is growing. And at some point you decide, I'm going to do $1 million in revenue. What do you think inspired you to make that decision? And then the second thing is, what did you have to change? Because at that point, practice is already off the ground. Practice is making good money, all that stuff. So what did you need to change to then make your practice the practice that would generate that much?
I think I picked that number because it seemed so ridiculous and impossible.
Well, thank you for saying that, because now somebody can believe it's not ridiculous or impossible. I love it.
And I've shared this story with you before where I came to one of the retreats and we were talking about, entrepreneurs making $1 million, doctors making $1 million. And I remember just like laughing and I'm like, well, she's definitely not talking to me. I don't know who she's talking to in this room, but it ain't me. But I still, I still wrote down all the things that you were saying and I still, did all that. And this was the spring before I started my practice. I think I leaned over to the doctor next to me. You said like, write your revenue goal. And I was like, well, I haven't really started my practice. Like, should I write 100,000? Should I write 200,000? Something like that. And she was like, yeah, just go big. And I didn't write 1 million because to me, that still seemed so ridiculous. But I wrote something in between. And believe it or not, I actually hit it that year, my first year of practice.
So when you hit it, were you like, yeah, of course, or were you shocked? And if you're shocked, what was the thought that came after that?
Well, I was so shocked. I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. I did not think this was possible. And just to be clear, this was my revenue. This was not my net profit. But still, the fact that I could generate such numbers was just like mind blowing to me. And this was me just having started a practice a year ago. And I really, in my mind, didn't really know what I was doing, right? It made me reflect on like the amount of growth that had happened. But then I also thought, well, if I could hit this, like what else can I do? Like, where can I go? It was just exciting and it gave me fuel to like keep going, because there are days that are discouraging, as we just talked about, but to keep going. And it almost became like a game then, like, well, how much, when can I hit 7 figures? Like, what will I make next year? And what do I need to do to get there? And that's a question that I'm always playing around with. How can I get there? How can I make that number? But one of the things that helped us was to introduce membership programs for certain aspects of care, like menopause. Another thing that I did was raise my prices for my surgeries with complex fibroids, complex endometriosis. And then I also hired another doctor. One of the things that I was clear on when I started my practice is that nobody's going to wait even 2 weeks to see a doctor here. We should have access quickly. And when I started filling my schedule 10 days out, I said, okay, it's time to bring somebody else. And it's just more fun with two surgeons as well. We operate together, and I'm about to go on vacation next week. She's here to still see patients. I didn't have to close my practice like I did the first few years. Whenever I would go on vacation or conference, there's nobody to see patients. So just leveraging that with another physician who also wants to have a good quality of life. Those are some of the things that I had to do to hit that number. And the fun thing is the strategy keeps changing. So from this to my next goal, I'm going to have to come up with a whole new set of strategies. And I'm not really sure what exactly they are, but I'm confident that my brain has evolved to the point that I can figure it out.
So you hit 1 million, and when you hit that, what did it make you think about yourself and your practice? And I can already deduce for it that it did make you go like, what else could I do? And I become this person who can figure out the next milestone. Like, it's going to be different and I can figure it out.
Yeah, because there's no playbook. There's no playbook that says, here's what you do to hit 1 million. Here's what you do to hit 2 million, right? For every one of us, it's different based on what your specialty is, where you are in the country, what type of practice you have. But I really look at it like a game now. And I'm like, well, what levers do I need to pull? And how do I need to improve as a CEO to hire the right capacity, people. And so it's a very different game than when I started, but that's what keeps it exciting.
This is what is required for every transformation. What kind of CEO do I need to become? Right? Like, for every milestone we set, we always want to look back to ourselves and say, okay, who do I need to become to pull this off? And so that's pretty cool. Okay, question for you. This has shown up a gazillion times in your business, and that is this thing called fear. And I don't use the word hate often. So let me just use, I really, really, really dislike fear, because what it does is it paralyzes us. And when we can no longer do what we were afraid of, I think the fear lifts. And you're like, I could have done this. If you think about a dream, the fear is there till you're 90. And then at 90, you're like, oh, I guess I could have done it. Right? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
What kind of torment is that? Right? And so everywhere I see it, I go after it. Everywhere I see it, I'm like, okay, guys, we can overcome this. Like, you cannot let this stop you. And I see it stopping people all the time, whether they want to start something or they want to take it to the next level or they want to take it to 1 million or build something they can exit from, whatever that is. So how have you stopped fear from stopping you? Because you're still moving forward. You're still doing what needs to be done.
That's a really good question. And I think I go back to really reflecting on why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, why am I doing this practice? Because as we just talked about, there's lots of challenges, there's lots of fear, there's a lot of inconveniences that you have to overcome to really get a practice running and be successful. So why am I really doing this? And when I look at my area, I know that finding a surgeon for your fibroid surgery, just getting an appointment can be 4 months, 5 months. And then getting the surgery done could be another 4 months, 5 months. And so that to me is unacceptable, right? I saw my own mom have fibroids and have a hysterectomy and all the things that she went through. And I can't imagine the plight of women who have to wait that long. And so I said, well, that can't be. And we need better access with quicker appointments. And in where I am in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, people are willing to pay. It's a matter of finding a doctor. And so I was like, I need to be that doctor. I need to be the person who is, the go-to gynecologist when somebody can't get an appointment. And we can use that not just for surgery. You get a terrible infection, you get whatever you're worried about, a breast lump, you're freaked out. Oh my goodness, can this be cancer? You don't want to wait 4 weeks to, get an appointment with your gynecologist. And so I think about what purpose my business is serving and what purpose my practice is there to achieve. And so when I think about that, I'm like, oh, I have to keep going. I have to get better. I have to have a bigger presence. That would be my answer.
I know your services are really required, like even without the wait time, but that's a long time to deal with that. So 8 months, almost a year, not long enough to have a baby? Like, that's crazy. Oof. Thank you for what you do.
This is what patients are telling me when they get here. They're like, oh, the wait list, is so long. So I just decided to travel an hour and pay the money because I'm suffering and I need to be taken care of.
You're a gift. You're a real gift. Real gift.
Thank you.
Okay. So talk about what difference being in the EntreMD Business School has made for your journey as an entrepreneur.
We talked a lot about fear. And I think the first thing it did was help me overcome that and to give me the thought that this is possible, or to even entertain the thought that this is possible. Because I talked about how I sort of erased that dream of starting a private practice because that's just not what people do here. And it's just not something that works here. If I was in New York, maybe. If I was back in the East Coast, maybe. So I'd already talked myself out of the game. And then being in EBS really made me look back and say, what if I did do this? And so that, I think, was really the biggest gift right away that helped me start, this journey. So thank you for doing what you're doing. And then when I started, just being in community with others who are also doing the same and just bouncing ideas off of each other, seeing how they approach challenges. You don't have to make the mistake twice. You learn from somebody else and you just get faster and faster at kind of overcoming these obstacles and hurdles. And so it's been really a gift. And I know it was designed to be a year curriculum, but here I am in year 5 of EBS. I'm never leaving because it's just been so great. And seeing all the amazing physicians there from around the country and world even, and seeing how they approach their practices. And it's been such a gift to my life.
And you've been such a gift to the community because people get to watch, your journey, your story, and you're always so generous, with the lessons that you've learned and the things you're doing. Like, even remember you do events and you come back and you're like, this is how I did this event and this is where I got this. And you're a true gift. And we're grateful that you're in the school. We're grateful you're a lifer for sure.
Thank you. And then I talk about self-improvement and, all of that. Like, this is part of that investment for me because when I'm around people who are doing big, bold things, then I get to become big and bold. And so for me, it's a necessary part of the journey.
Love, love, love it. So what's next for you? So we're here. We've built a practice that is truly one of a kind, right? People are like, you can't do that, but you have a cash-based surgical boutique practice in the Bay Area, right? Like all those words are not supposed to go together. Right? You figured it out and you put them all together. You got the practice growing. You got it past $1 million. You have the team. You got another doc on and all of this stuff. And you've become this person who doesn't have a lid anymore. So what's next for you?
So, my next goal is to make fibroids a household name. So that is where I'm going. I just wrote a book that's going to be released next month, July 2026, on fibroids for patients who are suffering from fibroids. I want to be able to speak on more stages and really spread the word far and wide because I want everyone to know what they are, and I don't want women to suffer the way women are suffering right now. So I want to be able to use my practice and my skills that I've built to really blow that up. And that's just my life's mission.
Love it. Okay. All right. If you are watching or listening to this, the reason I asked her that question is because she has been so generous and she spilled all the beans. This was not a highlight reel. This was the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, right? And I have no doubts that you are going to make significant shifts in your business because of what you learn, whether you have a private practice or not, whether it's cash pay or not, because it doesn't really matter. The principles are the principles. And so because she's done that, I want you to support her on what her next phase is. So that could look like, if you're watching this right when it goes live, the book will be out in about a month. You would go get a copy. You would, gift a copy. So many women, no matter who you are, you can gift copies. She wants to be on other stages. If you know a stage where this conversation is required and you can make that connection, then make that connection, right? In the EntreMD world, we're all about the win-win-win situation. We should all be winning here, is even on this conversation. And so that's how we create a win for her. So follow her, support her work. This is what we do to amplify the entire community.